Hello, everyone, and welcome. For those who don't know me, my name is Gwendolyn Reese. I am a pagan priestess of Apollon, Apollo, the Lord of Light, and Athena, the goddess of wisdom and the bringer of democracy. I am based in Washington, D.C. I'm a third-degree high priestess of the Assembly of the Sacred Wheel. And I want to share with you today some of the revelations that have been coming through to me that I think are relevant and hopefully will be helpful to us in this time as we think through how to move forward. When I look at my journal, the beginning of this, as I began writing down what I was getting, was actually starting on May 22nd, which is a few days before the horrific murder of George Floyd. And I do think, though, that what I am getting is relevant not only for that, but in relation also to the horrific epidemic of Black people being killed by the powers of the police. So I want to be clear about a couple of things. First of all, because of my contacts and because of who and what I am, the insights that I get, the revelation that I get, it's going to come through a Greek, a Hellenic lens. It's just going to, because that's how it's going to work in my system. But I believe that the insights that I am getting are easily translatable into other systems. So I hope that this is valuable for others, and this is why I want to share it. Secondly, I believe that the spiritual aspects of what we're dealing with is very important. But it absolutely has to be accompanied and going along with the very real, difficult, practical, worldly work of dismantling systems of white supremacy and systemic oppression. It is dramatically insufficient to only work on a spiritual aspect. We must constantly be doing both as spiritual people. So I was coming through this is unfolding because I was looking at the Oresteia by Aeschylus. And I believe it's very important for anyone who's interested in these things. That is an incredibly important play, especially when we are looking at our democracy in this moment, because we are in a very serious crisis. The Oresteia is written in Athens, the first democracy, and it is a tragedy that is ritually recreating the creation of a new world order, which is democracy, and the establishment of the rule of law and isonomia. Isonomia is equality of all before the law. This is what this tragedy is doing. And tragedy theater in ancient Greece is ritual. It has ritual, real implications, and I can go through that maybe in a minute. Actually, I'll go through it now. So basically the deal is that before democracy, if you have some sort of spiritual pollution on the land and you need to purify the body politic, and you had a king, what you would do is purification of the king. Once you have a democracy, once you do not have a king anymore and you have a democracy, then if you have poison in the body politic, and we do in this moment, then you have to have a different ritual mechanism for purifying it. And the ritual mechanism that was created in ancient Greece and arises in Athens with the democracy is tragedy. It is the theater. This is where you first see it. And the reason why is because it is through the tragedy, which is a ritual. It is a ritual that is participated in by everyone who is attending, as well as those people who are performing, that it creates catharsis. And catharsis, actually what it literally means is cleansing. So when we are looking at something like the Oresteia, this is a ritual text. And what it is describing mythically, and then reenacting and make living in the body politic, which this kind of thing is done every year, is the creation of the new world order into the rule of law and away from vengeance. Okay. So some of the basic wisdom that is here is that miasma, which is spiritual pollution, the spiritual pollution is created primarily through corrupt sacrifice. And in the ancient Greek tradition, in the myths that are being told here, there are things like when the great warrior king Agamemnon wants to have favorable winds in order to go fight at Troy, he sacrifices his own daughter at the altar. And this is a heavily polluted act that casts miasma, it casts spiritual pollution over everything. And in the end, he is killed in vengeance by his wife and her lover. And that this also creates miasma and spiritual pollution and is a corrupt sacrifice. And therefore, his son kills his own mother in order to avenge his father. This is also corrupt sacrifice. And part of this, what's going on here, that is important to understand from a spiritual perspective, has to do with the nature of what are the Arañes. The Arañes are the Furies. Now, often contemporary pagans look at the Furies and they think, oh, they're like goddesses that hunt you down because they're the goddesses of vengeance. And that's not actually what they are. When a person dies wrongfully in a corrupt sacrifice, then the purified essence of their anger remains. The spirit may go on, the higher self may go on, but the purified essence of their anger remains, and that becomes an arañe. It becomes a fury. And a fury is going to always seek for additional blood. Now, when you have these kind of beings that are just the purified anger of a wrongfully dead person who has remained, they coalesce into a larger kind of group intelligence. And that in the Greek was known as Ati, which is the goddess that is catastrophe. In the Latin, it's Vendetta, and this becomes the spirit of Vendetta. Vendetta is a spirit. It is a real living being. It is a being that is made up, it's like a hive being, of all of these spirits of the angry dead that are the purified anger of the wrongfully dead. And that being and the Arañes themselves, all they will do is search for more destruction, which is why it is catastrophe. There is nothing that can happen, but it just moves forward. And I think that we need to take this very seriously as a spiritual being. So in the Oresteia, what they are demonstrating, the great new world order that is negotiated by Athena with the backing of Apollon, who's kind of acting both from the oracular piece and also acting as kind of the defense attorney to get this sort of thing moving, is that Athena strikes a bargain with the Arañes. And that is that she gives them a different job. And the job that she gives them is to uphold the rule of law, to uphold the rule of law and equality of all before the law. And that as part of this, she promises that they will receive the ritual offerings and honors of heroes from thenceforward. And so these are regular rituals that honor the now Eumenides. And again, the point is, and part of the point in this is that you can't have your legal system actually linked to justice, to this greater idea of justice, without the support of the Eumenides. And that this is part of this bargain that is struck. Okay. So the rule of law, isonomia, equality of all before the law, and part of this then is the constant honoring of the Eumenides and ensuring that they are linked into upholding rule of law. They're the spiritual forces that keep that moving. And on the human side of this, we have to honor them And part of this is that we have to go through these periods of ritual purification. And also part of the thing with theater, ancient Greek theater, is that you go back and you bring up the things that are the miasma, so that you identify with them and the entire population identifies with them, and you cleanse and purge yourself of all of these things in the theater. And, you know, even when they were going back, they were doing some things with the Persian War. There are various things like this, but you're constantly also truly working on purification by keeping the things that could cause miasma and did cause miasma, that were corrupt sacrifice. You don't let them out of your sight. You recognize, you identify, you honor, and you work to heal. Okay, so what I am seeing right now and what I am getting is, first of all, there's several different things. This country, which, you know, this I already knew, but I hadn't quite put together some pieces of this. This country is built. It is built on corrupt sacrifice. It is built on the corrupt sacrifice of the genocide of First Nations people and the enslavement of African people and African American people. And that is our root miasma as this country. And when we were being founded, we did not do what we needed to do spiritually in order to cleanse and heal that. We shoved it down and we didn't deal with it. We had the Civil War, and then we shoved it down and didn't deal with it again, the Reconstruction, and we're back again. And we're going to continuously be back until we actually heal this miasma. And the only way to be healing this is to be truly honoring the spirits of those who were subject to corrupt sacrifice, to work with the Arañis, and to completely and totally dismantle the systems of oppression that we have now. And I personally believe that reparations are a necessary part of this, as well as just systematically overhauling. We have an opportunity to do this now, and if we don't, I think it'll just lead to destruction. It'll lead to the destruction of all of us, because at the catastrophe, this just does not end unless there is a new world order again that is established. The other thing, obviously, is that we did not keep our part of the bargain, in terms of we have not been honoring the spirits of those who were wrongfully sacrificed. We have not been giving them heroic honors. We have not been stopping the systems in which that continues to happen. We have not been honoring equality of all before the law. And therefore, that bargain, that world order, the compact, has been disintegrating. And I think we can see this on all levels. At the moment, we have people, including the very top of our country. Donald J. Trump worships at the altar of vendetta, of the spirit of vendetta. He doesn't know anything else. That's where his heart is. And there are so many instances in which it is clear that what we have is the rise of the power of vendetta. Vendetta will destroy everything. It has no other capacity. So this is part of what I have been looking at. And like I said, this is even before the horrific murder of George Floyd. I began having this unfold, where there are a lot of people in this country now who are in the thrall of the spirit of vendetta. And so I am trying to figure out, what can we do to redress some of that. And it seems to me that in addition to the very critically important work of just continuously trying to dismantle white supremacy, systematic oppression, it is also that we need to create rituals in all of our different traditions to honor the rightful anger of those who have been the victim of corrupt sacrifice, and to ask for their assistance in having true equality before the law, and to work on anything that we can do to purify the body politic. Now, I will say, I would love it if Lin-Manuel Miranda would look at this and be like, I am going to recreate the Oresteia for America, because I think it really needs to happen. That is a level of skill I do not have. And if anyone knows him, get this to him. But, you know, I think that any of us, we can be looking at this. We can be looking at this, and there's work that we can do. But I want to call attention to that dynamic. Thank you for listening.